So it really is knowing what you want and then asking for what you need. Um, Ask for what you need to do your best work. Do you need more time? Do you need clearer direction? Do you need more insight? Do you need agreements? Do you need more kindness? Um, being part of this is getting clear on what you want. And again, the second is asking for what you want. Again, creative director, how about 1030? There's a whole lot of that not happening. It's about modeling behaviors that you'd like to see in others. I don't necessarily tell clients that that's how I do email. I just do it once or twice that way. And then all of a sudden they're changing subject lines and they're bolding things. And, if they call me, I'm one of those people, I can't stand for my phone to ring. If they call me, I'll reply via email and they'll start going, oh, this is how she wants to talk. Have a frank talk about preferences. I used to have tons of interns roll through my office, and one of my better ones wrote out a list of, these are things you need to know when you're working with Lynette. Don't text her unless there's blood involved. Don't send anything in New Times Roman. Like, everybody has idiosyncrasies, but man, it's so nice when people at least know the big ones for you and behave accordingly. People will do anything in the world for you, I believe, unless, except read your mind. I don't know why my PowerPoint decided to go crazy, so apologies. Here's the thing, though. We tend to be working really, really quickly. And I learned from, a volunteer fireman. He was like, went to one of my workshops and it was like, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. You gotta, don't fret. Fretting is not working. And he said, as a fireman, we seconds can have devastating effects on life and limb and property. He said, but we are not allowed to run and we are not allowed to drive above the speed limit, because if something bad happens because of those things, we'd be in a much worse place. So don't try to go too fast. If you actually slow it down. Another example I had was a theater director who started 6 weeks late, and he said, okay, cast, I know we're starting 6 weeks late, but that means we must work really, really slowly. No do-overs. Be sure to take care of yourself. If you had a car as a requirement for your livelihood, you would make sure that the oil was changed and that the tires were at the right pressure. And yet your livelihood depends on you, your body, your spirit, your mind. And we don't take care of ourselves very well. If you do nothing else but take a break every 90 minutes, it will have a profound impact on your body, spirit, and mind. And then prioritizing 3 things, knowing what your 3 things are, and don't look up until you've done the hardest, is going to have a profound impact. I actually also had a pilot in one of my workshops, and he said, there are a million buttons and a million things that can go wrong in a plane, but we're only required to memorize the first 3 things that have to happen if any one of those bells or buttons goes off. Because if we know the first 3 steps, that buys us time to pull out the binder to figure out the other stuff that we need to do. So don't try to hold it all, 3 things at a time. Managing the flow of work. If you have access to watching a show called Overhaulin', I loved it for Chip Foose. Chip, they take old cars and they'd renovate them, but he would put everything out on a whiteboard and just say, okay, how long do we have to get this done? And he'd break it into sections, and then knew which section had to happen. We have to get the body work done before we paint, so they have to go in this order. So everybody knew how much time they had. And then he would illustrate a picture of what the end product looked like. So everybody knew what they were building together, even though they were only working on one small part. And they knew how their small part affected the entire project. And he inspired people while working on the details. So if you get a chance to watch it, I'd recommend it. Make sure you talk at the right time. Well, let me back this up. What I find is that people think, talk, and write at the same time. Like we're in a meeting and we're going to talk about it. We're also going to try and take notes so we can build the deck. If I even break up my thinking time from my talking time, it helps me do better work. If I talk to people before I ever write anything down, I do much better work. So defrag, pull those apart. The front end of the process, though, you're always just trying to get information. Discover. That's when you kind of open the door and go, what don't I know? What do you know? What information do you have? Do I have all my pieces, parts, mise en place? Then I'm going to talk to people about it and figure out the best plan of action before I've made a decision. Hold a hypothesis in your head, but hold it lightly. And then once a decision is made, then I'm going to disseminate that information. And again, you know, if we reply all and we have everybody in an email, we're doing all of these things at the same time, and it's madness. Number one thing to walk out of any conversation with is who's doing what next by when. And if that is the only thing that gets written down, and if it's the only thing that gets shared via email, I think the world would be a better place. But walking out of a meeting without knowing this, then we got to start over again a little bit. The next time we meet, what did we agree to? This is moving the ball forward. Full stop. Using a shared doc is not collaboration. You know, Google Docs or Teams or, you know, collaborative documents. I think it's a conversation to agree on what we're going to do, and then people can write their pieces at the same time or see what everybody else is going to say. So there are very clear benefits to it, but you doing your piece and me doing my piece, and then we'll just look at each other's without having had a conversation, can get really messy. Shared documents, I think, are the best way to house agreements or to document agreements. They do not replace conversations. I think making sure too that you know who owns the decision at any particular time, in any particular meeting. There are roles, you know, the whole RACI framework, but know who's just there to consult, know who's there to support, know who needs to be informed, but ultimately who's making that decision. And then copy people on things accordingly, or have meetings with these types of people accordingly. It's like we throw everybody into the same bucket. And as leaders, there's some things I would invite you to watch out for. Make sure you can delegate. Doesn't mean you redo what they do. I see a lot of leaders is just can't deal with the different style, or they weren't clear on the objectives. So so they end up just redoing the work that got done, and you will never move up if you are doing the work yourself. So allow for different styles, make sure you're clear on the objective. Don't take all the fun out of it. And what I mean by that is I worked with an agency that their creative director wanted a book done. And he's like, I don't know why he screwed it up. I told him exactly what to put on each page, what to write, what to put there. And I was like, well, then a monkey could have done it. Like, you took all the fun out of it. Tell them what you want the end product to be, or to feel like, or the impact you want it, you know, to have, and see what they come up with. Otherwise, then, you know, get a monkey. And I have been in some nonprofits, some companies where I sat in on a meeting and I was like, we've had this conversation. And they said, oh yeah, I know, we're re-agreeing. I was like, no, nobody has time for that these days. So we agree, we document what we agreed, and we'll carry on. We are, however, experimenting. So if we come back in 3 weeks or 3 months and say, that really wasn't working as well as it could, how about we reconsider our decision, or shift the experiment we're working on. But we're not going to kind of just make sure that we end the meeting the same way we ended it 3 weeks ago. So move the ball forward. Designing other people's behaviors. So this is really Super Nanny and Cesar Millan have the same system. And it is Be very clear about what you want to see. So write down the behaviors you want to see. Doesn't work very well for dogs, but be clear on it. Align in the moment. So give them positive and negative feedback in the moment. Make sure you reward them if they do it, and have an or else what if they don't do it. So don't nag, don't haggle, or don't let them fail to deliver. Don't let them off the hook. Promise you this works. Eat this PowerPoint, sorry. Doesn't want me to show you that slide. Okay, so we must meet sometimes, but be sure it's required. Know that a 15-minute chat can be more efficient than 5 emails. Make sure that you write out an agenda in the calendar invite. It's 3 points, doesn't have to be detailed. But I've told people that if you get a meeting invite with no agenda, then no attenda. Somebody's not focused about that time, who needs to be there or why. I would schedule 20 minutes or 50 minutes, not 30 or 60. You will get the work done in the amount of time that you have set aside to do it. Do the hardest thing first. Use parking lots if something is off topic. So we'll say, we're going to put that in a parking lot. It's not on the agenda. We will talk about it. We're just not going to talk about it right here, right now. Or we will talk about it offline, out of the meeting. But be sure if you call a meeting that you drive and that you end up with who's doing what next by when. If you end early, whoop, end early. But another thing we've learned from improv is you'll shut down conversation with no's. Or that'll never work, and blah, 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 blah. So say yes as often as you can, or yes and. Somebody says something and you want to build, yes and. I find people say no, even though they're agreeing with them. They'll say, no, I agree. Yes, please. Yes, let's. It is inviting language, and it's as good as laughter. So I also find that we call everything a meeting. So what would happen if we, I try to do this, if we defragged what we meant by meeting? Is it a brainstorming conversation? And there's some rules in there. We're going to riff on ideas. You can't bring your tech. Don't edit. And you don't document. We're just playing with ideas. Is it a decision-making conversation? Do we need to hash it out? Who owns this decision? Then our agreement is we get to advise on our point of view, but if the decision makers decided another way, we're going to get on board. Is it a huddle? Do we just want to do a quick recap? Ideally, if you're in person with no chairs, it's just who's doing what next by when? Have we fallen into any kind of speed bump? Do we need to make any decisions? Put things in parking lots? Or is it an alignment conversation? Do we just need to get on the same page? Do I need to fill you in on what happened and what these people said? It's really then about using your words, the right words. What is it that we're talking about, and how's it different from what we thought before? And make sure to capture key themes. And that would be one of those things that will be documented after the fact, usually is agreements or important notes that other people are going to need to know. Doing to me again, it's doing it to me again. Communication. It's the kind of, I think it's the number one thing that pops up on surveys for my clients on things that could be improved. It could always be improved, but I just showed you, we have so many channels and we're moving so fast and people use them differently. So this is more about kind of filling you in on possible agreements. So again, it's managing agreements is leadership, and no agreement was ever made without a conversation. So this is the art of conversation. This is I actually got from an article on kind of things not to do in today's marketplace, I guess more than ever. And it's in terms of the people that you lead. Do not ignore them. Don't treat them like a number. Don't make decisions without their input. And don't solve it for them. You are to help identify the problem and guide them. But if you start solving the problem, they'll just come to you for the answer. And then you're not leading, you're kind of doing everything with a bunch of people that you have to manage. It's babysitting. You don't want that. Make sure you ask them before you tell them and truly listen to what they have to say. Again, appropriate vulnerability can breed trust. If people have given input, they tend to buy in. So they protect what they help build. And the number one way to get people engaged is to just tell them you need their help, or can you help me with this? But I need your help is powerful. Be sure you give immediate feedback. I love this quote on the left. I don't love, but I do. But I think it is extreme cruelty to not know where you stand. Angel, devil, judge is a framework for giving feedback. It's not a compliment sandwich. It is tell them something genuinely positive. And again, you get more of what you focus on. So tell them the things that you want to see them continue doing. Devil is putting your objection into a question. Devil's advocate. Do you think this is as strong as it could be? Do you think this answers the challenge? And then judges, you get to tell them, hey, if it was my money, I'd maybe make it red or start there. 4 boxes, what's working, what's not working yet, what's missing, and is there anything else to consider? But again, framing your feedback keeps us from just focusing on the sand in the bathing suit and being harsh. One key thing that I have found, and again, it kind of goes back to pilots and 3 things, but I think it's Monday Morning Leadership is a book that they broke it in and they said every day or every week with your report, say, okay, here are 3 things I need from you. So it could be an output or it could be a behavioral change. And then be sure to say, what are 3 things you need from me to get these done? And don't let them off the hook. Like they got to come up with something. And if they can't come up with something, they're either not being honest or they're not being self-reflective enough to help themselves. 3 things that you need from them, 3 things they need from you. I would also at this moment ask you to commit. What are you personally going to do differently starting tomorrow? What are 3 things, at least 1 thing that you could try out of all the things you've seen in here that you could do differently starting tomorrow? And write it down. It has great power in it. I do think success is like gardening. So it's a result of doing what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, how it needs to be done, whether you feel like doing it or not. And be sure to use your powers for good. We did workshop agreements at the leadership team retreat. So if you want to do this with your team, these are the instructions. It's about reporting back and pinky swearing. So to execute a new agreement, select a team, a decision maker, a driver, set a flip the switch date and work that back to today. It could just be, hey, pinky swear, let's start it tomorrow. But if there has to be we need approval, we need something, this would be the process. So create an activities list. What needs to happen to make this happen? Who's doing what next by when? And then go. Let's just try it. So email me if you need me. I am here. There is another video about the agreements that were made at the leadership team workshop that I believe are part of onboarding new people, but onboarding existing staff. So please look for that and Godspeed. Have fun with it.